Ryan had always been different from other kids. While his friends played video games or watched movies, he spent his nights on the roof with an old telescope his grandfather had given him. Now 24 and working on his astronomy degree, nothing had changed much. His small apartment was filled with star charts, thick textbooks, and empty coffee cups. That Tuesday night started like any other. Ryan sat at his desk, typing notes about distant galaxies on his laptop. The clock showed 11:47 p.m. His neighbors had gone quiet hours ago, and even the street outside seemed sleepy. The only sounds were his fingers on the keyboard and the old refrigerator humming in the kitchen. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window. The city lights made it hard to see real stars, but he could make out a few bright ones. Then something caught his attention. A strange blue glow was moving across the sky, much slower than any airplane he had ever seen. Ryan grabbed his binoculars from the windowsill. The light was getting brighter and seemed to be coming closer. It moved in a way that made no sense. Sometimes it would stop completely, then suddenly shoot forward, then drift sideways like a leaf in the wind. His phone buzzed on the desk. The screen was flashing strange symbols he had never seen before. Not letters or numbers, but weird shapes that seemed to move and change. His laptop screen started doing the same thing. Even his old radio in the corner began making sounds, not static, but musical notes that rose and fell like a song from another world. Ryan felt his heart beating faster. As someone who studied space for a living, he knew this was not normal. He had read about strange lights and unexplained signals, but seeing it happen in his own room was completely different. The blue light outside was now so bright it lit up his entire apartment. Ryan shielded his eyes with his hand, but he could not look away. The light was not harsh like a flashlight or headlight. It was soft and warm, like moonlight on water. Then something impossible happened. A figure began to appear in the middle of his room. At first it looked like smoke or mist, but slowly it became more solid. Ryan could not move. He could not even breathe properly. His scientific mind told him this was not possible, but his eyes saw it happening anyway. The figure was clearly a person, but unlike anyone he had ever seen. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to glow with a gentle light. Her hair moved as if she was underwater, floating around her face in slow, beautiful waves. She looked human in many ways, but there was something otherworldly about her that Ryan could not explain. What surprised him most was her clothing. She wore what looked like a dress made of pure light. It shimmered and moved like liquid silver. But as she took her first steps into his room, the garment began to fade away. Ryan realized this was not because she was removing it, but because it was never really solid to begin with. She seemed to notice his confusion and paused. A gentle smile crossed her face, and somehow that smile said everything. It told him she meant no harm. It told him she understood his shock. Most importantly, it told him that she had come here specifically to see him. Ryan tried to speak, but no words came out. The visitor raised her hand, and he felt a strange calm wash over him. It was like the feeling he got when looking at stars on a clear night, peaceful and full of wonder. She looked around his room, taking in the star charts on the walls and the telescope by the window. Her smile grew wider, as if she approved of what she saw. She moved closer to his desk and pointed at his research papers. Ryan noticed her finger glowed with the same soft light as her skin. The strange symbols on his devices began to change. Slowly, they turned into pictures. Ryan saw images of a world unlike Earth, cities made of crystal that reached into purple skies, beings of pure energy dancing through the air, and oceans that glowed with their own light. He understood she was showing him her home. Ryan found his voice at last. "Who are you?" he whispered. The visitor tilted her head as if she was trying to understand his words. She could not speak his language, but she did not need to. More images appeared on his laptop screen. This time they showed Earth from space, then zoomed in to show his very building, then his room, and finally him sitting at his telescope night after night. She had been watching him. The realization hit Ryan like a wave. This being, this impossible visitor, had been observing him while he observed the stars. She had seen his dedication, his curiosity, his genuine love for the mysteries of space, and somehow that had made her choose him. Ryan slowly stood up from his chair. The visitor stepped back, giving him space, but her kind eyes never left his face. He could see intelligence in those eyes and something else, sadness perhaps, or worry. She raised her hand again, and this time Ryan felt something in his mind. Not words, but feelings and images. He saw her world in trouble, her people facing a great crisis. He saw darkness spreading across their crystal cities and beings of light growing dim and afraid. Then he saw Earth again. But this time, it was different. There were ships in the sky, massive and threatening. He saw his world changing, becoming something else entirely. The images filled him with dread, but then the visitor showed him something else. She showed him the two of them working together. She showed him hope. Ryan understood. This was not just a visit. It was a warning and a request for help. This beautiful, impossible being had crossed the vastness of space not just to satisfy her curiosity, but because she needed his help to save both their worlds. As if reading his thoughts, she nodded. Her smile returned, but now it carried the weight of responsibility. She was not just a visitor anymore. She was an ally, a friend, and perhaps something more. Ryan looked at his room, at his simple life of books and telescopes and lonely nights. An hour ago, his biggest worry was finishing his research paper. Now he was standing face to face with proof that we are not alone in the universe, and she was asking for his help to prevent a disaster he could barely understand. The visitor extended her hand toward him. It was an invitation, a question, and a leap of faith all at once. Ryan took a deep breath, thought about all the nights he had wondered if there was life among the stars, and reached out to take her glowing hand. The moment their skin touched, everything changed. His world expanded beyond anything he had ever imagined, and his real adventure was just beginning. The moment Ryan touched the visitor's hand, his world changed forever. A warm feeling spread through his body, like drinking hot chocolate on a winter day. But this was different. It was not just warmth, it was understanding. Images flooded his mind, but not in a scary way. It was gentle, like watching a movie that played directly in his thoughts. He saw her world again, but this time with much more detail. The crystal cities were not just beautiful buildings, they were alive. The structures pulsed with energy, growing and changing like living things. Ryan watched in amazement as beings made of pure light moved through these cities. They did not walk like humans. Instead, they flowed from place to place, their bodies shifting from solid to energy and back again. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The visitor, he somehow knew her name was Zara now, gently released his hand. She looked around his room again, this time with more curiosity. She walked to his bookshelf and touched one of his astronomy books. The moment her finger made contact, the book began to glow softly. Ryan watched as she flipped through the pages, even though he was sure she could not read English. But as she looked at the pictures of planets and stars, her face lit up with recognition. She pointed at a picture of Jupiter and then at herself, shaking her head. Then she pointed at a distant galaxy photo and nodded enthusiastically. "You are from there?" Ryan asked, pointing at the same picture. Zara smiled and nodded. She walked back to his laptop, which was still showing strange symbols. With a gentle touch, she made the screen display a star map. But this was no ordinary map. It showed the galaxy in 3 dimensions, spinning slowly in the air above his desk. Ryan gasped. The image was hovering in his room like a hologram, but more real than any technology he had ever seen. Zara pointed to a cluster of stars near the edge of the galaxy. One of them pulsed with a soft purple light. "You're home," Ryan said. It was not a question. Zara nodded, but her expression grew sad. She touched the holographic star, and suddenly the image changed. Ryan saw what looked like a war. Ships filled the space around her world, and the beautiful crystal cities were under attack. But the attackers were not aliens from another world. They were Zara's own people. The images showed a great split among her species. Some wanted to continue their peaceful way of life, while others demanded expansion and conquest. Zara showed Ryan that she was part of the royal family, a princess who was supposed to choose a side in this conflict. But she had chosen differently. She had chosen to leave. Ryan felt her sadness as if it was his own. "You ran away," he said softly. Zara looked at him with surprise. She had not expected him to understand so quickly. She nodded, and new images filled the air around them. Ryan saw her escaping from her world in a small ship, traveling through space while her own people chased her. "But why come to Earth?" Ryan asked. "Why come to me?" The hologram changed again. This time it showed Earth, but not as Ryan knew it. In Zara's vision, The planet was covered in a network of energy lines like a giant web of light. These lines connected every living thing, every tree, every ocean, every person. Ryan realized he was looking at Earth's life force, the energy that made everything work together. It was beautiful and complex, far more intricate than any human science had discovered. But then the image showed something terrifying. The energy web was being drained, sucked away by massive machines that appeared in the sky. As the energy disappeared, the forests died, the oceans turned black, and cities went dark. Earth was being killed. Your people, Ryan whispered, understanding flooding through him. They want to take our energy. Zara nodded sadly. She showed him more images, her people's world running out of power, their crystal cities growing dim, their leaders deciding that taking energy from other worlds was the only solution. Ryan felt sick. When? He asked. Zara held up her hands, showing him numbers in a way he could understand. 30 days. In 1 month, her people would arrive to drain Earth of everything that made it alive. But you are warning us, Ryan said. You are trying to stop them. Zara smiled for the first time since showing him these terrible visions. She pointed to herself, then to Ryan, then to the image of Earth. Together, the gesture said. We can stop this together. Ryan sat down heavily in his chair. An hour ago, he had been a simple college student worried about his next exam. Now he was apparently Earth's only hope against an alien invasion. The weight of it was almost too much to handle. Zara seemed to sense his distress. She knelt beside his chair and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. The warm feeling returned, along with something else. Confidence. She believed in him even though they had just met. Why me? Ryan asked. I am just one person. I study stars, but I am not a soldier or a scientist or anyone important. The hologram changed one more time. Ryan saw himself as Zara saw him, sitting night after night with his telescope, looking up at the stars with wonder and hope. He saw his genuine curiosity, his kind heart, and his deep respect for the universe and everything in it. Zara had been watching many humans, but Ryan was different. While others looked at the stars with thoughts of conquest or profit, Ryan looked at them with love. He wanted to understand, not to take or destroy. That was why she had chosen him. Ryan stood up slowly. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now, determination. If Earth was in danger, and if this amazing being trusted him to help, then he would not let her down. What do we need to do? He asked. Zara's smile could have lit up the entire room. She touched his laptop again, and the screen showed a map of Earth. A red dot pulsed somewhere in North America. Wyoming, Ryan realized. She showed him images of a device hidden deep underground, something her people had placed on Earth long ago as preparation for their arrival. This device would make their energy-draining process much faster and more complete. If they could find this device and destroy it, they might be able to stop the invasion or at least give Earth a fighting chance. A road trip, Ryan said, trying to keep his voice light despite the seriousness of their mission. I have always wanted to see Yellowstone. Zara looked confused by his attempt at humor, but she could feel his determination. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the sleeping city below. Ryan joined her there. Tomorrow everything would change. They would leave his simple life behind and race across the country to save the world. It sounded impossible, but looking at Zara's glowing form beside him, Ryan was beginning to believe that impossible things could happen. We can do this, he said, as much to convince himself as to reassure her. Zara turned to him and nodded. For the first time since her arrival, she looked hopeful. They had a plan, they had each other, and they had 30 days to save 2 worlds. The adventure was just beginning. Morning came too quickly for Ryan. He had barely slept, his mind racing with everything Zara had shown him. When sunlight streamed through his bedroom window, he almost convinced himself it had all been a dream. But then he saw her. Zara stood by the window watching the sunrise with wonder. In the daylight, her skin still held that gentle glow, but it was softer now, like candlelight. She had learned to create something that looked like human clothes, a simple dress that shimmered like water but stayed in place. Ryan could tell it took effort for her to maintain this form. Good morning, he said quietly, not wanting to startle her. She turned and smiled, that same smile that seemed to say everything without words. She pointed at the sun, then at herself, and Ryan understood she was drawing energy from the light. Her people were beings of pure energy, after all. Ryan made coffee and toast, trying to act normal even though nothing would ever be normal again. Zara watched with fascination as he went through his morning routine. When he offered her food, she politely declined, pointing again at the sunlight streaming through the window. "Right," Ryan said. "Different biology. They had work to do." Ryan pulled out maps of the United States and spread them on his kitchen table. Zara touched the spot in Wyoming where the device was hidden, and suddenly the map came alive with holographic details. Ryan could see underground tunnels, ancient rock formations, and deep beneath it all, something that definitely did not belong on Earth. The device was massive, bigger than a building, buried miles below Yellowstone National Park. "How long has this been there?" Ryan asked. Zara showed him images that made his head spin. The device had been placed on Earth thousands of years ago, during her people's first exploration of this part of the galaxy. Back then, they had been peaceful explorers, not conquerors. They had hidden the device as a way to study Earth's unique energy patterns, never intending to use it for harm. But times had changed. Her people's world was dying, and desperate leaders were willing to do terrible things to survive. Ryan studied the holographic display. The device was not just big, it was incredibly complex. Destroying it would not be as simple as planting some explosives. It would require someone who understood both human and alien technology. "Can you shut it down?" he asked. Zara nodded, but her expression was worried. She showed Ryan new images, security systems around the device, automated defenses that would activate if anyone tried to approach it. Worse, the moment she accessed the device, her people would know exactly where she was. "It is a trap," Ryan realized. "They are expecting you to try this." Zara's sad nod confirmed his fears. Her father, the emperor of her people, knew his daughter too well. He knew she would try to save Earth, and he was counting on it. The device was not just a weapon. It was bait to bring his rebellious daughter home. But Ryan was beginning to understand something else. "You are not just a princess, are you? You are the heir to the throne." More images flowed between them. Zara showed Ryan the crown that would someday be hers, the responsibility to lead millions of energy beings across dozens of worlds. Her people were not evil. They were scared and dying. They looked to her for salvation, but the salvation they wanted would destroy Earth. "That is why you ran," Ryan said. "You could not choose between your people and us." Zara touched the map again and the hologram zoomed in on the device. She showed Ryan something new: technical specifications, energy patterns, and what looked like blueprints. But these were not just any blueprints. They were written in her people's language with security codes that only royal family members could access. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. "You are the only one who can shut it down," Zara nodded. She was the key to saving Earth, but using that key would mean betraying her own species and giving up any chance of helping them find another way to survive. Ryan sat back in his chair, overwhelmed. This was so much bigger than he had imagined. It was not just about stopping an invasion. It was about a princess choosing between two worlds, both of which she loved. "There has to be another way," he said. "Maybe we can find a solution that saves everyone." Zara's eyes lit up with hope. She had been alone with this impossible choice for so long that she had almost given up. But Ryan's words reminded her why she had chosen him. He was not thinking like a warrior or a politician. He was thinking like someone who wanted to save everyone, not just pick a side. She touched his laptop again, and new images appeared. These showed her people's world in detail: the crystal cities, the energy beings, the beautiful but dying civilization. Ryan could see the problem now. Her people had become so advanced that they had forgotten how to create energy for themselves. They had become dependent on taking it from other sources. "What if we could teach them?" Ryan asked. "What if we could show them how to make their own energy again?" Zara looked at him with surprise. In all her years of royal education, no one had suggested this. The assumption had always been that taking energy from other worlds was the only solution. Ryan pulled out his physics textbooks and started showing Zara human theories about energy creation. Solar power, fusion, even theoretical concepts that human science was just beginning to explore. Zara absorbed the information quickly, her advanced mind understanding concepts that would take human scientists years to fully grasp. Together, they began to see possibilities. Maybe there was a way to modify the device in Yellowstone. not to destroy it but to change it into something that could help both species. The device was incredibly powerful. Instead of draining Earth's energy, maybe it could be reprogrammed to generate new energy that both worlds could share. But first, they had to reach it. Ryan looked at the maps spread across his table. Wyoming was 2,000 miles away. They would need transportation, supplies, and a plan to get past whatever security was protecting the device. "Can you make yourself look completely human?" he asked. Zara concentrated and her glow faded until she looked like any other person. It was clearly difficult for her, like holding her breath, but she could do it for short periods. "Good," Ryan said. "We will drive. It will take a few days, but it is safer than flying. Airports have too many security cameras and metal detectors." Ryan started making lists of what they would need: food, water, camping gear, tools, and his laptop with all his research. He would have to take a leave of absence from school, but saving the world seemed like a good excuse. As he planned, Zara walked around his apartment, touching his belongings with gentle curiosity. She seemed particularly fascinated by his photographs, pictures of his family, friends, and the few vacations he had taken over the years. Ryan realized she was learning about human connections, human love. Her people were immortal beings of energy who rarely formed the kind of close bonds that humans took for granted. "My parents," he said, pointing to a picture of an older couple standing in front of a lake. "They live in Oregon. They think I am just a boring student who stays inside too much." Zara touched the picture and Ryan felt her surprise. She could sense the love in the image, the deep connections between humans that she was only beginning to understand. "If we fail," Ryan said quietly, "they will never know what happened. None of them will." Zara turned to him, and for the first time since her arrival, Ryan saw determination in her eyes that matched his own. She walked back to the holographic display and pointed at the device, then at herself, then at Earth. No matter what it cost her personally, she would not let Earth die. And no matter what it cost him, Ryan would help her. They spent the rest of the morning planning their route and gathering supplies. By noon, Ryan had packed everything into his old car, a beat-up Honda that had gotten him through college but was about to face the biggest test of its life. As they prepared to leave, Zara stood in his doorway looking back at the small apartment where their partnership had begun. Ryan realized she was saying goodbye to the first place on Earth where she had felt safe and welcome. "Ready?" he asked. Zara nodded and climbed into the passenger seat. As Ryan started the engine, she placed her hand on the dashboard, and the old car suddenly ran smoother than it had in years. "That might come in handy," Ryan said with a grin. They pulled out of the parking lot and onto the highway, heading west toward Wyoming and whatever waited for them there. In his rearview mirror, Ryan watched his old life disappear. Ahead of them lay 2,000 miles of road, an ancient alien device, and the fate of two worlds. But for the first time since this all began, Ryan felt like they might actually have a chance. The first day of driving was harder than Ryan had expected. Not because of the distance, but because of everything else that came with traveling across the country, with an alien princess who was trying to save the world. Every few hours, Zara would suddenly tense up and point to the sky. Ryan would pull over and they would watch as strange lights moved overhead. Not airplanes or helicopters, but something else entirely. "Scout ships from her world," Zara explained through their growing mental connection. "They were searching for her." "Can they detect you?" Ryan asked during one of these stops somewhere in Kansas. Zara nodded sadly. Her natural energy signature was like a beacon to her people's technology. She could hide it for short periods by concentrating, but it was exhausting. Ryan could see the strain on her face each time she had to suppress her true nature. They started driving only at night and sleeping during the day in small motels far from major cities. Ryan paid for everything in cash, something his generation barely knew how to do anymore. Zara watched with fascination as he handled the paper money, another human custom that seemed strange to someone whose people had moved beyond physical currency centuries ago. On their second night, while driving through Colorado, something went wrong. Ryan was navigating mountain roads when Zara suddenly cried out in pain. The car swerved as she doubled over, her carefully maintained human appearance flickering. For a moment, Ryan saw her true form, pure energy barely contained in physical shape. He pulled over immediately. "What is it?" "What is wrong?" Through their mental link, Zara showed him what she was feeling. The alien device in Yellowstone was getting stronger. As they got closer to it, the machine was trying to connect with her royal genetic codes. It was calling to her, but the signal was painful and overwhelming. "We can stop," Ryan said, holding her hand as she struggled to control the energy crackling around her. "We can find another way." But Zara shook her head. She showed him new images. More scout ships arriving in Earth's atmosphere and her people's main fleet preparing to leave their dying world. Time was running out. They found a small cabin to rent in the mountains, far from any towns. Ryan helped Zara inside, where she finally let her human disguise drop completely. In her true form, she was beautiful in a way that took his breath away. A being of pure light and energy, more like a living star than anything earthly. For the first time since they had met, they had time to really talk. Zara created holographic images to share her memories with Ryan. He saw her childhood in the crystal palaces, learning to control her energy powers under the guidance of ancient teachers. He saw her struggling with the weight of royal responsibility, knowing that millions of her people looked to her for leadership. But he also saw her loneliness. As the heir to the throne, she had been kept apart from others, trained to rule but never allowed to form close friendships. Power had isolated her in ways that Ryan, despite his own quiet life, could barely imagine. "You have never had a real friend," Ryan realized. Zara's sad smile confirmed it. Royal duties had always come first. Every relationship in her life had been political or educational. She had never experienced the simple joy of someone caring about her just for who she was, not what she represented. Ryan shared his own memories in return, though he felt embarrassed about how ordinary his life seemed compared to hers. Growing up in a middle-class family, struggling through college, working part-time jobs to pay for his education. But Zara absorbed these memories with wonder. She was amazed by human resilience, by the way people could find happiness in small things. Ryan's memory of helping his neighbor fix a broken fence meant more to her than all the royal ceremonies she had attended. The simple act of humans helping each other without expecting anything in return was completely foreign to her experience. "Your people do not help each other?" Ryan asked. Zara showed him images of her world's rigid social structure. Everyone had a role, a function, a place in the grand design. Energy beings who excelled became leaders while others served in various capacities. It was efficient, but it was not kind. "That is why your people are dying," Ryan said suddenly. "It is not just about energy. It is about connection." The idea hit both of them at the same time. Zara's people had become so focused on individual power and hierarchy that they had lost the ability to work together. They took energy from other worlds because they had forgotten how to share their own energy with each other. Humans, for all their flaws, understood something that Zara's advanced civilization had forgotten, that working together made everyone stronger. On their third day, they encountered their first real danger. Ryan was filling up the car at a gas station outside Denver when he noticed the other customers acting strangely. They moved too stiffly, their eyes too focused, and they all seemed to be watching him and Zara. "We need to go," he whispered to Zara as he finished pumping gas. But it was too late. As they got back in the car, the other people at the station moved to surround them. Up close, Ryan could see that their eyes were glowing with the same soft light as Zara's skin. "Possessed," Zara explained through their mental link. "My people can control humans temporarily by sharing their energy." The possessed humans did not attack them directly. Instead, they formed a circle around the car and began speaking in unison, their voices carrying a message in Zara's language. Zara went very still. Through their connection, Ryan felt her shock and fear. "What are they saying?" he asked. "It is my father," Zara whispered. "The Emperor. He is offering me a deal." The message was simple but terrible. If Zara surrendered herself now, her father would spare Earth for a while. He would find other worlds to drain first, giving Earth maybe 100 more years before her people returned to claim it. It was not mercy. It was just delaying the inevitable. Ryan felt anger rise in his chest. Tell him no, but Zara was wavering. 100 years was a long time. Maybe in that time, humans could advance enough to defend themselves. Maybe her people could find another solution to their energy crisis. "Zara, look at me," Ryan said firmly. When she turned to him, he could see the weight of impossible choices in her eyes. She was tired of running, tired of being responsible for so much. 100 years is not enough, Ryan said. Your people will not change their minds. They will just get stronger while we stay weak. This is our chance to stop this forever. Ryan started the car engine. The possessed humans stepped closer, still speaking in their eerie unison. Trust me, Ryan said to Zara. We can do this together. Zara looked at the possessed humans, then at Ryan, then at the road leading toward Yellowstone. Ryan could feel her making the hardest choice of her life. She placed her hand on his, and suddenly, the car was filled with energy. The engine roared to life with more power than it had ever had. Ryan floored the accelerator and they burst through the circle of possessed humans, speeding away toward the mountains. Behind them, the controlled people stood motionless for a moment, then collapsed as Zara's people withdrew their influence. Are you okay? Ryan asked as they put distance between themselves and the gas station. Zara nodded, but he could feel her sadness through their bond. She had just rejected her father's offer and declared herself a complete enemy of her own people. There was no going back now. They drove in silence for a while, both processing what had just happened. Finally, Zara created a small holographic display showing their route to Yellowstone. 2 more days, she said in her mind voice. Ryan nodded. 2 more days until they reached the alien device. 2 more days to figure out how to reprogram a machine built by an advanced alien civilization. 2 more days before Zara's people realized their princess was never coming home. But as they drove through the beautiful Colorado mountains, Ryan realized something had changed between them. They were no longer just allies trying to save the world. They had become something more. 2 people from different worlds who truly cared about each other. Whatever happened at Yellowstone, they would face it together. The setting sun painted the mountains gold and purple around them as they drove toward their destination and their destiny. Ryan reached over and took Zara's glowing hand in his, and for the first time in days, both of them smiled. They were going to save 2 worlds, and they were going to do it as friends. Yellowstone National Park looked peaceful in the early morning light. Tourists were taking pictures of geysers and buffalo, completely unaware that the fate of their world lay buried miles beneath their feet. Ryan and Zara sat in their car at a scenic overlook, studying the holographic map that showed the exact location of the alien device. It is directly under Old Faithful, Zara explained, pointing to the famous geyser in the distance. The thermal energy from the hot springs helped hide the device's energy signature for thousands of years. Ryan looked at the innocent-looking geyser shooting water into the air. How do we get down there without anyone noticing? Zara touched his laptop and the screen displayed a complex network of natural caves and underground passages. Some led close to the device's location, but they would have to travel through miles of dangerous underground terrain. There is another problem, Zara said, her mental voice heavy with worry. The device has been activated remotely. My people are already beginning the energy drain. Ryan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. How long do we have? New images flowed between them. Earth's energy being slowly siphoned away, starting with the planet's magnetic field. Within hours, the northern lights would be visible as far south as Mexico. Within days, electronic devices would start failing worldwide. Within weeks, the planet's protective magnetic shield would collapse entirely. The device is not just taking energy, Zara explained. It is preparing Earth for complete transformation. My people plan to remake your world into something like our own, a place where only energy beings can survive. Ryan stared at the peaceful park around them. In a few weeks, all of this would be gone. Every tree, every animal, every person, all of it converted into pure energy to feed Zara's dying civilization. We have to move now, he said. They hiked into the wilderness, following Zara's energy senses toward the nearest cave entrance. She had to maintain her human disguise around other park visitors, but once they were alone in the forest, she let her true form shine through. The cave entrance was hidden behind a waterfall, just as the holographic map had shown. Ryan used a rope and climbing gear he had bought in Colorado to rappel down into the darkness. Zara simply flowed down like liquid light, her energy form allowing her to move in ways no human could match. Underground, the cave system was larger and more complex than Ryan had expected. Ancient tunnels stretched in every direction, some natural, others clearly artificial. The walls were covered in symbols that glowed softly when Zara was near, writing left by her people eons, how they had been walking for hours when they encountered. The first security system, the tunnel ahead suddenly, filled with a shimmering barrier of energy. When Ryan tried to approach it, the barrier pushed him back with a gentle but firm force. Genetic scanner, Zara explained. Only members of the royal bloodline can pass. She walked through the barrier easily, but when she tried to bring Ryan with her, alarms began sounding throughout the cave system. Ancient defense mechanisms were awakening after thousands of years of sleep. The device knows we are here, Zara said. It is calling for help. They ran deeper into the tunnels as mechanical guardians activated around them. These were not robots as humans understood them, but living machines made of crystal and light. They moved like liquid metal, flowing through the caves faster than Ryan could run. Zara used her energy powers to create barriers and distractions, buying them time to reach the device chamber. But Ryan could see the effort was exhausting her. Each use of her abilities made her glow dimmer, and he realized she was using her own life force to protect them. Finally, they reached the heart of the ancient complex. The device chamber was enormous, a cavern the size of a football stadium carved out of solid rock. In the center stood the machine that would destroy Earth. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, a tower of crystal and metal that pulsed with stolen energy from around the planet. But they were not alone. A figure materialized in the center of the chamber, a hologram of Zara's father, the Emperor. He was tall and imposing, his energy form more refined and powerful than his daughter's. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the cavern with the authority of someone used to absolute obedience. "My daughter," he said in accented English, having learned Ryan's language for this confrontation. "You have traveled far to reach this place, but your journey ends here." Zara stepped forward, her own power flaring in response to her father's presence. "Father, you have to stop this. Earth's people are not your enemies. They can be your allies." The Emperor's laugh was cold and bitter. "Allies? These primitive beings who cannot even prevent their own world from dying. Look around you, child. Their planet is already burning from their own actions. We are simply hastening the inevitable." Ryan found his voice. "We are not perfect, but we are learning. Give us a chance." The Emperor turned his attention to Ryan for the first time. "Ah, the human who has corrupted my daughter's thinking. You speak of chances, but chances are luxuries my people can no longer afford. Our worlds are dying, boy. Every day we delay, more of our people fade into nothing." The hologram gestured to the device, and Ryan could see new activity. Energy streams from around the Earth were flowing into the machine faster now. "But I will make you both an offer," the Emperor continued. "Zara, take your place as my heir. Help me rule the new worlds we will create from the ashes of a dozen planets. In return, I will preserve some of Earth's population. A few million humans kept alive in energy form like us. They will lose their physical bodies, but they will survive." Ryan felt sick. The Emperor was offering to turn humans into the same kind of energy beings as Zara's people. But only a tiny fraction of Earth's population would survive the transformation. "That is not survival," Zara said firmly. "That is slavery." "It is more than they deserve," the Emperor replied. "But it is the best offer they will receive." Zara walked toward the device, and Ryan realized she was going to try to shut it down manually. But the moment she approached the control interface, energy barriers sprang up around her. "Did you think it would be so simple?" the Emperor asked. "The device will only respond to my personal authorization codes. You cannot stop it, daughter. You can only choose whether to help me or watch your human friends die slowly." That was when Ryan remembered something from their journey. Zara's earlier words about human cooperation and connection being humanity's greatest strength. "Zara," he called out, "remember what you learned about humans. We do not have to be stronger than our problems. We just have to work together." Ryan pulled out his laptop and connected it to the alien device's interface using cables Zara had modified with her energy powers. The machine resisted at first, but slowly Ryan's human technology began to communicate with the ancient alien systems. "What are you doing?" the Emperor demanded. "Something your people forgot how to do," Ryan replied, typing frantically. "We are sharing." Instead of trying to destroy the device or steal the Emperor's codes, Ryan began uploading everything: human scientific knowledge, cultural databases, even social media posts and home videos. He was showing the alien machine what humanity really was. At the same time, Zara connected her own energy to the interface. She shared her memories of Earth, her growing love for human culture, and most importantly, her vision of cooperation between their two species. The device began to change. Instead of draining Earth's energy, it started generating new power using a fusion of human scientific principles and alien technology. The energy was clean, renewable, and more than enough for both civilizations. Impossible, the Emperor whispered. But it was happening. The device was no longer a weapon, it had become a gift. A way for both species to thrive without destroying each other. The Emperor's hologram flickered as the device stopped sending energy back to his fleet. "You have doomed us all," he said to Zara. "Without that energy, our people will die." "No," Zara replied, her voice stronger than Ryan had ever heard it. "Now our people will have to learn to live differently, to work together instead of taking from others." She turned to face her father's image directly. "I choose to stay on Earth as an ambassador. I choose to help both our peoples find a better way." The Emperor's expression was unreadable. For a long moment, father and daughter stared at each other across the vast gulf between their philosophies. Finally, the Emperor spoke. "You are no longer my daughter. You are no longer welcome among our people." "I understand," Zara said quietly, "but I hope someday you will see that this was the right choice." The hologram disappeared, leaving Ryan and Zara alone in the chamber with their transformed device. They climbed back to the surface as the sun was setting over Yellowstone. The device was still working, generating clean energy and sharing it freely with both worlds. Around the planet, the energy drain had stopped. Earth's magnetic field was stabilizing, and electronic devices were beginning to work normally again. "What happens now?" Ryan asked as they sat beside Old Faithful, watching it erupt in the evening light. "Now we build something new," Zara replied. "A partnership between our peoples. It will not be easy, but it will be better than war." Over the following weeks, first contact became official. Scientists around the world worked with Zara to understand the new technology. Governments struggled to process the